Hi, I'm i3D Jack. Welcome to Volume 2 of this Rendering with Exercise series using Mental Ray. In the first volume, we covered a lot. A ton of stuff in Mental Ray. But Mental Ray is so vast, so huge, and there's so much to cover that we're now diving into Volume 2 and we're going to cover a whole bunch of stuff. Okay? So let's just jump in and get started. Let's go over here to the Project Manager. Let's load up the project that we need here. So I'm going to go to Add Project. Just find the project that comes with this tutorial and go ahead and load it up. The project you're looking for is i3 Tutorials Rendering Volume 2. So let's go ahead and select it. And here's Volume 2. The first scene we're going to start off with is this one down here called Radiance Particles Start. So let's go ahead and open that one up. Okay, Radiance Particles. Very quickly, what is Radiance Particles? Radiance Particles is a new indirect illumination algorithm that was introduced with Mentoray 3.6. Mentoray 3.6 is the version of Mentoray that comes with XSI 7. So Radiance Particles is kind of like final gathering or global illumination. It allows you to do indirect illumination. Okay, so what is Radiance Particles? Well, we'll talk about that very soon. I promise you. We're going to be covering Radiance Particles very, very in depth. By the time you're done with this tutorial, with this volume 2, you'll be so tired of hearing about Radiance Particles that you'll be having nightmares about it. Okay, I'm just kidding. Hopefully you won't have nightmares of a Radiance Particles. But we are going to cover Radiance Particles very deep. We're going to cover a lot of technical aspects of it, and then we're going to move into using it for production and practical purposes because it's pretty useless to know about Radiance Particles if you don't know how to use it for production and you don't know some tricks for getting it to render quick and nice. Okay, so the first scene that I have here is a very simple scene. If I do render preview, this is what I have. It's very, very simple. It's basically an interior space, just a simple room here with a hole in the ceiling, and in the background we have the Mentoray physical sky as well as a physical sun shader attached to my sunlight. And then down here we have this cube, okay? And the objects in my scene are using the MIA material or the architectural material shader, okay? Let me close that render tree there, and let me close that. Very quickly, I'm just going to come in here and dig right in here in the Explorer and get the XSI physical sun. And if I open up its render tree, you'll see it's got a physical sun shader applied to it. I went ahead and applied that manually myself. I showed how to use the physical sun shader in volume 1, so I'm not going to go over that in this volume and waste your time. I'm just showing you the scene setup so you understand what parameters and what kind of scene setup we're working with here. Again, if I do render preview, all I get is direct lighting from the sun, no indirect illumination, which obviously looks very fake. Radiance particles allow us to create some very realistic lighting by introducing indirect illumination. Just like Final Gathering, editor, edit the video. There was a strange sound there. Starting again in 3, 2, 1. Irradiance Particles is a new indirect illumination algorithm that works very similar to Final Gathering or Global Illumination. It basically creates bouncing light in your scene to create a more realistic, appealing render. Okay? So what are the advantages and disadvantages of Irradiance Particles? Why did they create this new Irradiance Particles algorithm, and why use it? Well, we'll go over that a little bit later. Right now, I'm just interested in turning it on and using it. Okay, so let me close this. Let me go to render, and I'll come over here to my render options. And it helps if you move to the render mode by hitting 3 on the keyboard if you haven't already. And these are my default regular rendering options, not too exciting. If I come over here to Radiance Particles, you notice that there's an enable checkbox, but I can't do anything with it. It's grayed out. Is it broken? What's going on? Well, let's go over to the Photon Global tab, and you'll notice here we have this drop-down box, and it allows us to choose two options, either Global Illumination / Final Gather, or Irradiance Particles. Well, since we're talking about Irradiance Particles, let's switch to that. Let's go over here back to the Radiance Particles tab, and you'll notice that now we can enable Radiance Particles. Awesome. Fantastic. Okay, so these are the default settings. I'm not going to go over all the settings right now. Trust me, we'll go over that in a lot of detail very, very soon. Right now, all I'm interested in is turning on the default settings and just doing a preview render using the default settings of Radiance Particles. The next thing I'm going to do is go to Diagnostics, and I want to turn on information. I want to turn on information so that Mentoray logs information about the render as it's happening in the script editor. So I'll close that and I'll open up the script editor down here. Just expand it a bit just so we can see this better. Now with that diagnostics option for information turned on, when I render, I'll get tons and tons of information here relating to my render, which will allow me to troubleshoot it just in case if anything wrong should happen. But come on, what could possibly go wrong, right? Okay, so now that that's done, all I have to do is a preview render. So I'll do a preview render and see what happens. Here we go. Radiance Particles, it's rendering, fantastic. Awesome, we're going to get the best render ever. Uh-oh, what's going on? Something's happening. Oh no. Oh goodness, that's not good. We have a whole bunch of words that are red. That usually means something wrong. And over here we have these error messages, which probably is not good. Okay, so the error message says error. Mental Ray has encountered a fatal error condition. It's been disabled for the rest of this exercise session. Oh my. Please save your work and contact Softimod support. Ooh, that is not good. If we hit OK, we got another one, and another one, and another one. Another one says something different. Says something blah 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 blah. Can't allocate something bytes. What in the world does that mean? And another one, and another one, and another one. Wow, that's a lot of error messages. If we go to our script editor, we can see we get a whole bunch of stuff in red. Like I said before, red is bad. Okay, over here it says something about cleaning up memory mapped frame buffers. Can't allocate some amount of bytes. A whole bunch of messages that say allocation of so-and-so bytes failed, flushing. This is not good. So we obviously got some kind of strange error or crash with Mental Ray, and it's disabled for the rest of the session. In order to re-enable Mental Ray, I have to close XSI and start it afresh, start a new editor, edit that, edit the video, edit that, edit the video. Thank you. Starting again, 3, 2, 1. In order to get past this little problem, I'm going to have to close XSI and start it up again, or else Mental Ray is not going to work. The problem is if I do that and I render again, it's going to crash again and again and again. And this scene will never ever render as long as I keep hitting the render button. So this is a serious problem. It means that if this was a real job, I wouldn't be able to complete it. So how do we fix this problem? Well, before you fix the problem, you have to understand what's going on. So what's happening? Is XSI broken? Is it Mental Ray? What is it? Well, the problem is a limitation, a conflict that occurs with a 32-bit version of Windows and the new BSP2 algorithm with Mental Ray 3.6 in XSI 7. So it's really a problem that's happening as a combination of different factors: 32-bit operating system, XSI 7, and Mental Ray 3.6, as well as the BSP2 algorithm. Up here, we can see a line that says using BSP2 algorithm for secondary rays. The problem is that this algorithm does not work well with 32-bit Windows. Even if you have 4 gigabytes of memory, it still is going to give you problems with Radiance Particles. So what do? Do we just quit using the Radiance Particles? Is there something we can do to fix the problem? The best thing you can do to fix this problem is to switch to a 64-bit pipeline. That's right. You're going to have to switch to a 64-bit system, of course, with a 64-bit operating system, and a lot of memory to get these problems to go away. However, a lot of artists out there, as well as a lot of students, are still using 32-bit Windows with XSI, in this case XSI 7. So what are they to do? Do they have to go out and get 64-bit Windows? No, not at all. There's a couple of solutions that we can do to fix this problem. The first solution I'm going to show you right now. Let's go up here to Help, and we'll go to Knowledge Base. And that's going to open up my default web browser, which happens to be Mozilla Firefox, best web browser out there in my opinion. And down here in the Softimod wiki, you're going to find a how-to article, and it's called How to Set Up Distributed... Oh, I'm sorry. Editor, edit that out of the video. Start again in 3, 2, 1. And down here, you're going to find an article called How to Set the 3 Gigabyte Switch. And the description reads, even if you don't have 3 gigabytes or more of memory, setting the 3 gigabyte switch is one of the first things you should try when you have memory and performance problems with XSI on 32-bit Windows. So let's click on that and go to it. Very quickly here, there was an acquisition very recently where Autodesk acquired Softimage. So right now it's unknown as to whether this wiki is going to remain online for very much longer or if it's just going to stay online for a long time to come. I really don't know. I couldn't answer that question. I don't work for Softimage or Autodesk, so I really don't know what they're planning. There is a distinct possibility though that the Softimage wiki may be taken down or moved somewhere else. So you may not be able to find this article here so easily. Of course, this web page has been recorded with this tutorial, so you can always refer back to these instructions here just in case if this web page is ever moved or if it just goes down and no longer exists. You can always refer back to this video and see the instructions. Basically, these instructions tell you how to configure and edit your boot INI file for 32-bit Windows, XP in this case, and basically set up something called a 3 gigabyte switch, which it just improves the way that XSI takes advantage of the memory with Windows 32-bit. There are two things I'd like to say with that. First, this solution is, well, let's just say it's not really solving the problem. It's basically like using a crutch for a broken leg. It's going to help, but it really doesn't solve the problem of the broken leg. Doing this will help resolve some memory issues with XSI, but it's not going to fix the problem entirely that's caused by 32-bit Windows. If you want to solve the problem completely, you're going to have to switch to a 64-bit pipeline. If that's not an option, you can use this method to try to alleviate some of the memory issues with XSI and Windows 32-bit. Be warned, however, that after doing this 3 gigabyte switch, you'll probably still end up crashing XSI 7 with Radiance Particles. In some scenes you might not, in some scenes you will. But chances are the problem is still going to be there. So this problem helps to alleviate, this solution helps to alleviate the problem a bit, but it doesn't solve it entirely. So just be aware of that. The second thing I'd like to say as a disclaimer for legality purposes, I have to say that i3 Tutorials or myself are not responsible for any changes you make to your boot INI file or any errors or any problems you may run into with your operating system or your computer by following these instructions here from the Softimage wiki. I didn't write these instructions. I'm not responsible for them. I will say, however, that I tried them myself and they work very well if they're followed correctly and if you're an experienced computer user, power user that knows what he's doing. If you don't know what you're doing, try to contact the system administrator or try to hire somebody who knows what they're doing, a professional, to do this for you. Okay? But the instructions are here. They're pretty straightforward. It's a pretty simple procedure to do. Again, this probably won't solve the problem completely. It'll only alleviate some of the memory issues you may be having with XSI 7 and Mental Ray in Windows 32-bit. So I don't recommend this solution, but it's there for you. And again, neither I nor i3 Tutorials is responsible for any problems you may incur while following these Softimage instructions. Okay? Okay, so with that out of the way, let me go ahead and close that. There's another solution we can do to fix this problem. And this solution, don't worry about it. I'm not going to sit here and give you more legal stuff about, oh, I'm not responsible for this and that. The next solution is a very good one that works 100%. Okay? The problem here is the BSP2 algorithm. It doesn't work well with Radiance Particles in Windows 32-bit. So what we need to do is use the old BSP algorithm. The BSP2 algorithm was introduced with Mental Ray 3.6. Softimage decided to make BSP2 the default algorithm for XSI 7. So as of this recording, BSP2 is the default BSP algorithm for XSI 7. Unfortunately, you can't change it. There's nothing in the interface. You can't just go to the renderer options. There's no option here in your Mental Ray options in XSI 7 to switch back to the old BSP. So you're kind of stuck. But fear not. Robo will come to the rescue. Okay? what we're going to do is we're going to create an environment variable that starts up with XSI to force XSI 7 to use the old BSP algorithm, because the old BSP algorithm works flawlessly with Irradiance Particles in Mentorate 3.6 with XSI 7 and Windows 32-bit. So basically, if it can't switch to a 64-bit pipeline for whatever reason, you can use this next method I'm going to show you with the environment variable to go ahead and solve this problem once and for all with Windows 32-bit without having to switch to a 64-bit pipeline if for whatever reason you can't do that. So how do we set the environment variable? A lot of XSI users actually don't know how to set an environment variable and don't even have knowledge of what an environment variable is. So I'm going to show you what it is instead of just telling you about it. Okay, so we need to close XSI for this to work. So we'll close XSI and go into the Windows environment so we could set up the environment variable for XSI 7. So let's close XSI 7 and see how we can do this. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's set up the environment variable to force the old BSP algorithm in XSI 7. To do this is actually a lot simpler than you may think. We're going to go down here to Windows and go to All Programs in my case. I'm going to go and look for Softimage Products, XSI 7, and the tool I'm looking for is called User Tools. So let's go ahead and click on that to open it up, and we get a different list here of configuration files that we can edit. The one we're interested in is called the environment script down here. So get the environment script, double click on it to open it up, and this is where we can set different environment variables for XSI 7. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go up to the first line, the one that says @echo off. Okay, we'll go at the end of the line and we'll hit enter to start up a new line. And we'll type in the word set, we'll put a space, then we'll type in mi underscore force underscore old underscore BSP equal 1. So it should say set mi force old BSP equals 1. Pretty simple command to write in there. Once you're done, hit save and close, and this little window will save and it'll close down, and then we can open up XSI again, and the next time we open up XSI we'll be able to see that we are in fact using the old BSP algorithm. So I'll show you that next. Okay, so I restarted XSI 7 after setting my environment variable like I just showed you, and if we go ahead and open up our scene again, the Radiance Particles start scene. Okay, let's open up the script editor. We're basically going to do the same thing as before, just to test to see if it doesn't crash. Now, I guarantee you it's not going to crash, but I'd rather just show you so you can see for yourself. So let's go over here to Radiance Particles, and we have to set this up again. So let's put Radiance Particles in the Photon Global tab. Let's go back to the Radiance Particles tab and turn that on. For now on, I'm going to refer to Radiance Particles as IP, just for short. It's just way too many syllables to say over and over again. Okay, so IP works great. Okay, so here's the default settings like before. Remember, these default settings caused a massive crash earlier. All right. So what we're going to do is just simply do a render preview. And there we go. It's rendering out. And of course we have no information because I forgot to turn the information back on. I didn't save my previous scene. So let me close that. Let me go back to Diagnostics. There we go. Turn information on. Sorry about that. And we'll do another render preview. There we go. Right here. You can see it. Instead of saying using BSP2 algorithm for secondary rays, now it says using large BSP algorithm for secondary rays. That right there is a confirmation that the environment variable worked and that we are in fact using the old BSP algorithm as opposed to the new BSP2. Very important to make a note of. Okay, so we can see that it's rendering extremely slow. And that's actually quite normal. There's nothing wrong going on. It actually does render that slow unless you tweak the settings the correct way. The default settings are actually overkill. The default settings are set incorrectly. So basically, they're more. Basically, the default settings are more geared towards high quality as opposed to speed optimization, and that's why this is going to render very slow. Even on an 8-core machine like the one that I'm using right now, it's still going to render pretty slow. because these settings are not very good. But if you notice, we're not getting any type of crashing. Mentor is not complaining at all. None of those red messages. And it's emitting the portons and it's working very well. So we can already see that this is rendering just fine. Okay. Now I'm not going to sit here and wait for this whole render because I'm very impatient and I don't want to sit here for about 4 or 5 minutes waiting for this thing to render. Of course, you can let it render if you want, and you'll notice that it won't crash. Okay. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to end this scene here. I'm going to close it, and I'm going to end the video. In the next video, we're actually going to get started with Radiance Particles. All right. So we're actually going to start to see how Radiance Particles work. I'm going to explain to you what the benefits are to Radiance Particles and, very important, what the drawbacks are. Because like with anything in life, there's always benefits and there's always drawbacks to something. Okay? So we're going to look at both the positives and the negatives of using IP, and we're going to see when it's beneficial and when it works for you. Okay? So I'm going to end this video here, and I'll see you in the next one.